Welcome to the Creating Multiple Streams of Income show. You can share our video, you can invite and take a friend. And yes, if you have any comments that are relevant to what we're discussing, you can just type them in the comment section. We appreciate your contributions. If you have any contributions for the discussion, you can also add your contributions and we'll read them. Yes, and if you have any questions that you want to be addressed, you can also add them in the comment section and we'll address them. From today, we are introducing two segments on our show. The first one, the book of the week, and the second, the thought of the day. Themba, would you like to share something on the big book of the week?
Thanks, Stefazo. We always want to encourage our viewers and our listeners to read because reading empowers all of us. Our book of the week is a book that was written by a gentleman called Robert G. Allen. Robert G. Allen. He was probably one of the first to organize his thoughts around generating multiple streams of income. So the book is titled Multiple Streams of Income, How to Generate a Lifestyle or a Lifetime of Unlimited Wealth. The book is available on Amazon for those of you who would want to read this particular book. It's less than 300 pages and it's become a bestseller. Robert G. Allen is not the first to talk about generating multiple streams of income, but I think what he does in this book is to provide a clear methodology on how to do that. So one of the things that you'll benefit from reading this book is that you're going to get a clear methodology of how to generate multiple streams of income. The second thing that you're going to benefit from this book is that he has taken the trouble to research on some of the areas where you can generate multiple streams of income. Obviously, Robert G. Allen is in America, and in his book, he's giving, in the original version of the book, he gave 10 ideas on how to generate a passive income of at least 100,000 US dollars. And then in an updated version of the book, he focuses on generating income in the online world. So that's our book of the week. It's a book that we can get from Amazon. As Tafazo has indicated, we also would want to just share with you what we call the thought of the day. The thought of the day. The thought of the day is basically something that I have been meditating on that I would want to bring to the attention of our viewers and our listeners. And today I was meditating on the thought that says it's really expensive to be poor. I used to think that because poor people do not have money, their life is not expensive at all. I used to think that rich people, because they have got money, their life is expensive. But experience has taught me otherwise. It's actually taught me that it's expensive to be poor. And the quote of the day arising from this thought is that the financial system is designed in such a way that poor people actually pay more than the rich. If you want to live a cheaper life, become rich. If you're not understanding what I'm saying, let me just give you 3 examples that will really solidify the thought in your mind. The first example that I would want to give you concerns a lending transaction. Say a rich person and a poor person go to the bank to borrow money. Who's going to be charged more in terms of interest? You would think that the bank would say, because the poor man doesn't have money, let's charge them a lower interest rate. But beloveds, it does not work like that. Banks actually charge poor people a higher interest rate than rich people. And the reason why banks do that is that the poor person has got a higher probability of defaulting on their loan than the rich person. And therefore, they are charged a higher interest. So that's the first example that I would want to give you. The second example that I would want to just give you, which illustrates that it's very expensive to to be poor. Think of a poor man and a rich man that are about to travel to America. Obviously, the poor man does not have reserves, and the rich man has got reserves. And what tends to happen is that because the rich man has got reserves, they will buy their tickets in advance and get a lower rate. The poor man is waiting for the salary to come in, and therefore they will only be able to accumulate the money for the ticket probably a week or two before the trip, and they pay 4 times than what the rich person paid for the trip. And related to that, when rich people spend, sometimes they get benefit loyalty points, and they can convert those loyalty points into actual purchases. That's making their purchases less expensive than poor people's expensive. There's a third example that I would want to give you, but the reason why I'm giving you these examples is also to solidify in our mind how we must conduct our affairs from a financial point of view. So the first thing arising from my first example is that always manage your credit record. If you do not take it upon yourself to manage your credit record, it's going to be expensive for you when you go to borrow from the bank. Because simply what the bank does is they look at your history of conducting your accounts, and they will charge you a higher interest rate based on your higher rate of default. The second example that I gave you basically illustrates something that we've been saying, Tafadzo, that always keep reserves, always operate with an emergency fund, which is at least equivalent to 3 months of your earned income. What an emergency fund affords you to do is to plan in advance. Maybe you want to undertake a trip. You can always pay for your holidays in advance so that it's actually cheaper for yourself. The third example that I'm giving you is that as a person who is embarking on a journey of financial independence, it's always important to be branded. If you are a no-name brand, because most poor people are a no-name brand, the way they go about their business is that nobody knows about them. They are just consumers. They are no-name brands. No-name brands find life to be expensive. People that are branded actually pay less for their expenses. I've got a friend who is a social media influencer. I don't know how this friend actually managed to do it, but she has accumulated followership on Facebook in excess of 100,000. I don't know what the exact number is. And because the person has got a followership of that much, brands actually approach this person and say you've got a car brand. They actually give them the car for free to use for free. And different brands approach this person and give them goods for free with the hope that this person will advertise their goods to their many followers. And what I have just found out is that people that are branded, and usually rich people are branded, they actually sometimes get things for free, right? I knew of a person who is a business person because they are branded. Brands actually pursue this business person, and they actually offered sometimes hotel accommodation for free. And even they are offered vehicles. Here I'm talking about luxury vehicles to use for free. Poor people will never be offered something for free by any brand. That's why it's very, very expensive to be poor. So our thought for the day is that it is very expensive to be poor. The financial system is tilted against poor people. You can do yourself a favor by aiming to be a rich person. You will actually find that your inflation is lower. That's why inflation is not an enemy to everybody. Inflation is particularly an enemy to poor people. Rich people have got many tools and techniques to manage inflation. You'll never hear a rich person complaining about how prices are going up. It's because the way that the financial system is designed in such a way that it penalizes poor people. I rest my case, Tafadzwa. It is expensive to be poor.
Thank you for sharing that, Temba. When you're talking about interest, that the bank charges different interests for the rich and the poor. A week ago, 2 weeks ago, there was news where one of the employees for a bank was accusing the bank that they charge more interest to Black people than the white people. And my understanding was it's not possible to charge different classes of people. According to one of the, I think the CEO of the bank was defending their bank. So how does it work? If they can charge different interests between the rich and the poor, why can't they charge different interests between the Blacks and the...
That's a great question, Tafanzo. Banks are not allowed to discriminate on the basis of gender, on the basis of race, on the basis of religion. So the way the law is structured is that banks cannot charge a Black person a higher interest rate just because they are Blacks. So let's just be clear on that. But then banks are allowed to have pricing models that actually respond to the risk of default of particular clients. So rich people, because they've got resources, they've got a lower risk of defaulting on their obligations compared to poor people. And therefore, most pricing models would end up penalizing poor people. Because remember, when a bank gives you money, they have to assess what we call the probability of default. And that probability of default basically talks to the likelihood of you paying back. So people that are cash rich have got a higher probability of paying back the loan than people who are not cash rich. And as a result, what will tend to happen is that the pricing models of most banks will end up discriminating against poor people. And that is perfectly legitimate. It's actually allowed to do that because at the end of the day, sound lending practices are based on the cash flow generating capacity of the borrower. And that's how lending models, work and pricing models of banks. So thank you very much for that question, Tafazo. It's a very important question.
Thank you, Temba. Indeed, it is expensive to be poor. I'll just quote Robert G. Allen, the author of the book Creating Multiple Streams of Income, which Temba just spoke about when he started. In today's uncertain economy, the safest solutions to be wealthy, be in total control, and enjoy freedom for you and your family is to have multiple streams of income. Temba, what is our book of the week? And can you also give us thought of the day? I think we've already done that. Do you have any financial news that you wish to bring to the attention of our viewers? What happened in the last week?
3 themes for this week, Tafadzo. The first theme is around litigations. And I want to continue on this thought of, it's expensive to be poor. So I'll talk about litigations because there were quite a number of news around litigation in this week. The second theme is around deflation. And the third theme is around cryptocurrencies. So those are the 3 themes that I would want to deal with in this news segment. Let's talk about litigations, to begin with. And the reason why I'm talking about litigations is that I've also found that sometimes the legal system is tilted against the poor. One of the reasons why you do not want to be poor in your life is that you may not get justice. You may not get justice because the legal system is very, very expensive. And I'm sure you'll agree with me that only the rich can sometimes access the legal system. So there are three pieces of news that I would want to bring to your attention. In this week, we actually got news that the Supreme Court in South Africa gave Vodacom 30 days to make a better offer to a gentleman called, Kenneth Nkosana Makate. Some of you might not have heard of the story of Mr. Makate, but Mr. Makate used to work for Vodacom years ago. And this litigation against Vodacom has been going on for the past 15 years. Essentially, what happened was Mr. Makate was working at Vodacom. He is an inventor. So he actually gave Vodacom an idea, the please call me idea. If you do not have money, if you do not have data, if you don't have money in your cell phone account, you can actually ask somebody to call you and then they will call you. So Mr. Makate is credited with starting that particular idea, the please call me idea. When he proposed the idea to Vodacom years ago, I think it was around 2000, he actually entered into an arrangement with Vodacom where he was supposed to get 5% of the revenue that Vodacom would generate from this please call me invention. Unfortunately, what happened is that it was a verbal agreement. That agreement was never reduced to paper, which is something that we should learn. Whenever you make an agreement, always reduce it to paper. But in spite of the fact that it was a verbal agreement, Vodacom did not deny, even in the many court proceedings that have been happening, Vodacom did not deny that they entered into a verbal agreement with Mr. Makate. So Mr. Makate then took Vodacom to court, and after all the court processes had been exhausted, Vodacom offered 47 million to Mr. Makate. And Mr. Makate's lawyers were demanding 28 billion. So there is a huge discrepancy between 28 billion and 47 million. I think the reason why Vodacom was offering him 47 million is because that's typically what a CEO would get, because their argument was, Mr. Makate as an employee of Vodacom would not have been entitled to remuneration which was higher than what a Vodacom CEO would have gotten. But the verbal agreement was that he would get a portion of the revenue. And that's what Vodacom is supposed to honor in terms of the verbal agreement. So the Supreme Court has said, no, Vodacom, the offer of 47 million is not acceptable. Increase that offer. So Vodacom has got 30 days to think about it. Whether the offer will go all the way to 28 billion, we do not know. We wait to see. But it's one case of a poor man getting justice against a corporate. And the reason why Mr. Makate has been able to do that is because he's been a beneficiary of what is called litigation funding. So there is a fund called the Sterling Rand Litigation Fund, which is actually funding his battle against, Vodacom. So the point that I'm just trying to highlight, and this is one reason why we must have money, it's because poor people rarely do have justice, in this world. Another litigation case that we got to know about in this week happened in the Western Cape. There is a company there that was being run it's in the tourism industry by a certain entrepreneur. So SARS came hard on that company and raised a number of VAT assessments against the company, to such an extent that this company, which was a small to medium enterprise, had to pay a huge bill. They then went to court, and the Western Cape Court, granted a punitive cost order against SARS. It's probably one of the rare cases where somebody wins against a tax authority, such as SARS. And the judge essentially rebuked SARS for being unfair with this particular company called Ken. Again, it's a question of a resolute entrepreneur trying to get justice against a tax authority, there. And it brings back to my point. If you are poor, there is no way you can actually go against some of these large corporates and tax authorities. The third court case is, from the UK. You might have heard that Prince Harry has won his court case against this, newspaper, the Mirror Group newspaper, for the phone hacking that they are alleged to have done. So we don't know the amount of the settlement, but he's going to receive quite a huge settlement, there. Beloveds, it is true. We are living in a world where the rich are becoming richer and the poor are becoming poorer. And the reason why the poor are becoming poorer is because they don't know the tools that are available to actually level the playing field. So that's on litigation, Tafadzo. The other theme is on deflation. We also got news in this week that the Chinese economy is, many economists are fearing that it has entered a period of deflation. Tafadzo, prices are coming down in China. We use the CPI index to measure inflation, and CPI has actually fallen down in the last month in China. I think it fell down by something like 0.8, percent. In the rest of the world, prices are going down, but China has been experiencing some deflation, which has to do with decreases in prices. And the reason why it's been experiencing deflation is, number one, their exports are not being bought by people. The Chinese economy relies on exports, and has relied on exports to grow. And so there's been reduced demand on their exports. But another reason has been, there's been trouble in their property sector. So we had a huge property company failing in China. And so, there are two implications of that, which I would want to bring to our attention. Number one, the question that everyone is asking is it possible for the deflation in China to also spread around the world? In other words, to influence the global economy. So we may have a situation where the world also goes into deflation. So that's what people are actually scratching their heads and thinking about. The other thing that people are scratching their heads is, so what does this deflation mean, in terms of how the world will actually shape up economically going forward? And for our viewers, this is the one comment that I would want to make. The global economy has got so many fault lines as we speak. And I worry, when I look at the Chinese economy and whether the numbers that are coming out of there are quite reliable or not reliable. But the point that I just want to highlight is that there are so many fault lines in the global economy at the moment. In other words, it's a very, very uncertain global economic outlook that we are looking at, at the moment, which is why we need to generate multiple sources of income, because it's not guaranteed that even the focus that people have been giving at the beginning of the year will actually turn out to be true. There are quite a lot of headwinds that may impact on the economic trajectory of a number of countries. So let's see what happens. Food prices are falling in China. For those that are not trained in economics, you might actually think that deflation is a good thing, but it's never a good thing. Because if an economy is in deflation, then you're going to have high rates of unemployment. Then you're going to have struggles in the economy. For an economy to be prosperous, you need a little bit of inflation for corporates to thrive You don't need too much inflation because hyperinflation becomes, counterproductive. You just need a controlled inflation. So deflation is not good, particularly if deflation is, happening to a large economy, such as China. But there is also one thing that I would want to raise here, which I find interesting as an economic forecaster. When I went to school to study economics, our professors always told us that one day the Chinese economy will overtake the American economy. And it's been interesting for me to watch over the years how China has grown at an average of 10% per year. And it looked like they were going to overtake the Americans. But with all the problems that they are having, I'm beginning to think that it might not happen in our lifetime because there are actually quite a number of economic troubles that are happening in China. Let me quickly move on to the last theme on cryptocurrencies. Last year, Tafazo, we gave an advisory to our viewers not to touch cryptocurrencies because of the volatility. And at the beginning of this year, we gave an updated advisory for people to have some exposure to cryptocurrencies, but limit the exposure to not more than 5% of the total portfolio. It turns out, Tafazo, that in this week, Bitcoin rose by 10%. So I think Bitcoin went as high as 47,000 in this week. So Bitcoin is actually going up. And it's essentially because of a number of players that have actually come up with exchange traded funds that include cryptocurrencies. So that has actually resulted in cryptocurrencies actually going up. So in our advisory, we still advise people to have exposure to cryptocurrencies, but to limit it to not more than 5% of their portfolio. We think that cryptocurrencies have got a future. It was quite interesting for me as I was going through some of the news article. We spoke about the collapse of FTX, a cryptocurrency, fund that was managed by a guy called Sam Bankman-Fried, who's been arrested and is waiting sentencing. So people lost a lot of money when the FTX, collapsed. But the updated news that we got this week is that though 10 billion went missing from that fund, because Bitcoin has actually gone up since the collapse of FTX, the investors in FTX may actually get their money back. And it's essentially because of how Bitcoin has been going up. So those are the three themes that I would want to highlight, Tafadzwa: litigations, the deflation in China, and cryptocurrencies, and how we must have exposure to cryptocurrencies, but as a risk management technique, limit our exposure to cryptocurrencies.
Thank you for taking us back to our economics lectures. And on cryptocurrencies, can one use investments as a stream of income? Like you're just investing as maybe you go to work, then you have a salary and you just invest. Can you say that's you're having multiple sources of income? And I even say that, what do we mean by multiple sources of income? And why is it important to have multiple sources of income?
It's important to have multiple sources of income, Tafadzwa, because we are living in a very uncertain world. The world is so uncertain that almost every financial newspaper that I read these days, it's talking about companies cutting down on their workforce. We also highlighted a trend where artificial intelligence and robotics are technologies that are being adopted by companies. That will result in reduction of workforces. So we live in a very uncertain world where there is a real possibility, for us all to lose our jobs. But that uncertainty also comes from the global economic fault lines that we are actually experiencing. I've been talking about what's happening in China, the deflation in China, and the possibility of that deflation impacting on the global economy. So it then becomes important for one not to rely on one source of income, because the world is becoming, very, very uncertain. The second reason why we need to create multiple sources of income is that when you create multiple sources of income, you are embarking on a journey to improve your quality of income. What typically happens is that when we get a job, we are relying on earned income. And we've highlighted in previous shows that earned income is a poor quality, source of income. So when you embark on multiple sources of income, you are actually trying to generate passive income streams. And when you try to generate passive income streams, you are actually improving the quality of your income. But at the end of the day, Tafadzwa, it's all about diversification. It's all about growing your streams of income. So let's look at the case for multiple sources of income in three ways. Number one, you are improving your quality of income. Number two, you are growing your income sources. Number three, you are reducing the risk in your income sources. In other words, you are diversifying your sources of income, and therefore you are not immune to some of the shocks that may actually happen. Is it important for everyone to have multiple sources of income? It is very, very important. It's just like, a tree does not have one branch. A tree has got so many branches from which it bears fruit. A river has got so many tributaries that feed into a river. And therefore, it's very important, if we are to enlarge our income base, to have so many tributaries that feed into our income streams. That's why we need to have multiple sources of income. There are mistakes that people make when they try to increase streams of income. Let me give you the number one mistake that many people make. Say you've got a job, and then you get a second job, and then you are working hard. Many people would say, I've got a second stream of income. That's not what we are talking about, because a second job is still a source of earned income, and it's not passive income, and therefore it doesn't qualify under what we are talking about. But also, if there are economic uncertainties and companies are shedding jobs, it's possible for you to lose your two jobs that you have. So when we are talking about generating multiple sources of income, we're not talking about somebody, getting two different jobs, three different jobs. That's not what we are talking about, because you're working yourself, very hard like a machine. That's not creating a multiple source of income. When we are talking about creating different streams of income, we are talking about a stream of income whose risk characteristics are not correlated with the risk characteristics of your current income stream, right? That's why your number one goal must actually be to create another source of income. So you gave an example, Tafadzwa, in your question about investments. Do investments qualify as a stream of income? Definitely they qualify as a stream of income. That's what we are talking about. So in Robert G. Allen's book, in the original version of the book, he gives 10 ideas of generating streams of income. I will not go through all the 10 ideas, today, but one of his number one idea, which we might as well talk about in our next installment, Tafadzwa, is about investing on the stock market. So when you invest on the stock market, you are creating another investment stream of income. And even when you invest in Bitcoin, you are exposing yourself to another stream of income. So any investment in any asset class is an attempt to create a stream of income. So here we're talking about investing in the stock market, investing in Bitcoins. or even buying a rental property. Say you've got a job. Instead of getting a second job, you actually invest in another property. You've created another stream of income. The way we are creating streams of income is we are generating a stream of income whose risk characteristics are different from the stream of income that we are talking about. There are two other mistakes that people make when they are creating streams of income, which I would want to highlight here. Say, for example, you are starting to work. Don't think of diversification at that stage. You need to first entrench yourself in one stream of income. So that's the thing that I would want to highlight here. Say, for example, you are starting a business. You don't start a business and then you start launching different products from the word go. That's a mistake. Entrench yourself in the core business that you founded the business for. If you are working, entrench yourself in your job before you even start generating another stream of income. When you are established, when you have made a name for yourself, then you can begin to diversify and create other sources of income, because you run the risk of losing focus. I have seen companies fail because they have lost focus. In other words, they launch different products at the same time, and therefore they are not focused in terms of their proposition to the market. So let's avoid that mistake. So far, I've spoken about two mistakes that many people make in creating streams of income. Mistake number one is going for a stream of income whose risk characteristics are the same as the stream of income that you have. In other words, I gave an example of getting two jobs. You've got your day job, and then at night you've got another job. That's not what we are talking about there, because you will work yourself to death if you do that. Mistake number two that many people make is a lack of focus and not entrenching themselves in their first stream of income. Think of a business like Microsoft. Microsoft is into software. We know Bill Gates for Microsoft. That's how he made his money. And then once he entrenched himself in software, he then began to diversify into other areas. And that's what we must do when we create, sources of income. In other words, we must aim to create passive sources of income to reduce the risk. So diversification on its own can be a mistake, especially from the word go, right? That's the point that I'm highlighting, here. I hope I have answered your question, Tafadzo, in terms of what are multiple sources of income. People ask me questions again, like how many sources of income should we have? It's not about the number of sources of income that you should have. I know of a teacher who says you should have at least 3 sources of, you must have at least 4 sources of income. Another teacher says you must have 7 sources of income. The number of income sources is neither here nor there. Entrench yourself in one source of income, and then on the back of that, you then develop other products, with an aim of getting annuity income. The one thing here that we are talking about, you start from earned income and then you branch into passive income. In other words, you make annuity income from your work. The whole point of creating multiple sources of income is never to work again, right? And get my point here. If you are creating multiple sources of income and your objective is to work again, then you are doing it the wrong way. When we talk about creating multiple sources of income, the motivation here is never to work again. In other words, you are creating annuity, sources of income, Tafadzo.
Thank you for those insights. And there's some opportunities where when you start from day one, you have many ideas. And maybe to manage risk of failure, you'd rather maybe pursue three ideas, then you drop as you go, than to just focus on one. And also, usually when you start the business, that's when you need money more. Isn't that the time when you are maybe it's encouraged to have more than one source of income?
I don't teach that, Tafadzo, and I don't advise that. So number one, focus is the name of the game. Number two, scaling up your business is the name of the game. So when you are starting your business, it's very important to define your niche, your focus area, particularly, and we'll have another session, Tafadzo. So I've promised to have a session on investing in the stock market. I have promised to have a session on starting a business the right way. Starting a business the right way involves identifying your niche market that you would want to focus on. Then when you identify that niche market that you would want to focus on, you focus on that niche and, get brand identity. Today I've spoken about brand. Have a recognizable brand. And then you scale up the business. You scale up the business, you focus on scaling up the business. Once you have scaled up the business and the business is generating sufficient cash flows, you then think of adding different products, to those businesses. The risk that you run by diversifying from day one is that you don't have the skill set to go in certain industries and to pursue certain ventures. And that's what many people make the mistake of. I do not advise anyone to go into an income stream that you do not have any knowledge about, that you do not have skill set about. So if you are thinking of developing another stream of income, start from your current skill set. Start from your current knowledge base. Start from what you know and the competencies that you have, because you're going to limit your chances of failure if you do that. If you just launch different products at this, from the word go, you're going to lose focus and you run the risk of going into areas that you do not have knowledge, on. So you need to stick to your core business. And we always advise people to do that. Stick to your core business. Stick to things that give you competitive advantage in business. That's the way you do it, in business. So creating streams of income is very important. It's just like Tafadzo. It's just like we're talking about earned income. I know of certain people that have done fabulously well by, through employment. And I was reading an article this week of 3 individuals that are now billionaires, but who started off as employees. We've spoken about one, a guy who used to be CEO of Microsoft, Steve Ballmer. They were talking about another one, the current CEO of JP Morgan Chase. He's also now a billionaire. If you look at some of these people who have reached the level of CEO, they have actually become billionaires. In other words, they focused on employment, they got promoted, they then, out of that promotion, went into other streams of income. So focus is the name of the game, here. So here is my advice to somebody who is starting on employment, all right? Say, for example, you get a job today. Here is my 2 pieces of advice. Number one, focus on your career so that you are promotable, so that you can be promoted very fast. Number two, on a monthly basis, make it a habit to set at least 10% of your income into investment. Investing on the stock market does not require, specialized skills. It's anything, it's something that anybody can do. And we'll talk about, that in probably in the next, show. So if you are starting to work, one of the things that you can immediately do in your, or, on a part-time basis is to invest on the stock market, trade currencies, invest on the property. So when we talk about creating streams of income, we're not talking of you losing focus. We're talking of you in your spare time over the weekend, creating a side hustle that you can focus on. It's not a side hustle that should take all the energy out of you. It's a side hustle that should help you generate passive income. There is not much to be gained by creating a side hustle that will get all the energy, out of you. If you decide to create a business that is in line with your competence, that you understand very well, that you have researched about. That's how strong businesses are, 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 are generated, are built, Tafadhali.
Focus is the main game. Is there a methodology for creating multiple streams of income? And can you share this methodology with our viewers if there is?
There is a methodology, Tafadhali, of creating streams of income. And this methodology that I will share with you comes from Robert G. Allen's book. He talks about the journey to financial independence, the journey to creating streams of income in 3 phases. So phase number 1 is where you develop the financial habits. Don't go about creating streams of income until you have developed certain financial habits and you have embedded, certain thinking in your DNA. And when we talk about financial habits, we basically talking about things such as living a frugal life. That's the foundation of going into, creating other streams of income. The reason why it's important is because you are going to, if you are successful in generating another stream of income, you may actually not spend it wisely. So you need to entrench yourself in the right, financial habits, such as, frugality, which we spoke about, such as investing at least 10% into investing. That's a financial habit that you must entrench yourself in. Living below your means is another financial habit that you must, entrench yourself, in. So so the foundation of creating streams of income is entrenching yourself in, good financial habits. In that phase 1, we are also talking about entrenching yourself in your core business. In other words, if you're an employee, be a very good employee who is promotable. If you are into business, scale up your business so that the business, grows. That's phase number 1. That's the methodology. In phase number 2, that's when you are aiming at growth and diversifying the income stream, right? You think of, how do I grow? In phase number 1, if you are in business, you have built a brand. In phase, and here when we're talking about building a brand, it also applies to employees. We are talking about building a personal brand, as well. Tafadhali, here is the thing. What is the point of creating 7 streams of income of 100 rands each when you can create one stream of 1 million, of income per month, and then diversify on the basis of that? So in phase 1, you want to entrench yourself. Phase 2 is then the phase where you are accelerating, growth in income. It's the phase where you are annuitizing your revenue. And there, if you are in business, you come up with because you already have got a brand. You can come up with propositions that are very interesting to, to your clients. So you can market upstream or you can market, downstream, but you have entrenched yourself, in business. The reason why you need to follow this methodology is because if you don't follow this methodology, you can easily create a stream of income which dries up very quickly, or you can lose focus, in the process. One of the persons that I follow very well is a billionaire out of Zimbabwe called Strive Masiwa. The way he did it is that he entrenched himself, built a business called Econet, which has done very well. And then he left it to managers to manage. That was like his first phase. By that time, he was not a billionaire. He then moved to South Africa and pursued other things. He's now invested in a number of areas. But when he started off, we know of Strive as a telecommunications mogul, right? So in phase one, you need to entrench yourself and be known for something, which is quite specific. So if you went to school to be a doctor, then being known for being a very good doctor, you entrench yourself. If you are managing a business, you then leave your business to managers to manage. And then you then diversify and grow, which would be phase two. You are looking into other areas of your business, or you are looking to launch different business and you are increasing the revenue streams of your business. That would be phase two, right? Then there is a phase three, which is also part of the methodology. In phase three, that's when we actually shield our wealth. Many people don't realize that this is very important. In other words, we secure our income, right? Trust me, Tafadzwa, there are people who have made money in this world that they will never finish in their lifetime, that their children will never finish. And, that money has been shielded. Nobody can get hold of that money. That money is in trust. That money, they've used all the knowledge base to shield that money. And one day, Tafadzwa, probably later on in the year, we're going to do a show on how to shield your wealth. Have you ever heard of stories of somebody who made money in one generation and then they lost it all? Because, the wealth disappeared. The people that are able to create these streams of income that we are talking about also develop tools and techniques to shield their income. And that would be phase three, Tafadzo, where you apply strategies to be able to secure those streams of income, that way. So that's a methodology that one can follow.
Thank you for that. I have good financial habits, diversify, and shield your wealth. That's the methodology of creating multiple streams of income. Any specific passive income ideas you would want to share with our viewers?
I like the fact that you're asking me about passive income ideas, because that's exactly what we're talking about. We're not just talking about a stream of income that is an end stream of income. We're not talking about a stream of income that is a poor quality source of income. We're talking about passive income, here. So your question is any ideas? I've given you one idea so far: stock market investments. So for somebody who is thinking of taking the first step of creating passive income, the first entry point is into the stock market. By the way, Tafadzo, your pension funds, for those that are working, who have got jobs, is most likely invested on the stock market. So investing on the stock market is the first source of passive income. You can accelerate stock market investment using other tools, by trading. For example, what I do in my life is that I've got two portfolios of stock market investments. I've got a portfolio that is based on fundamental investing. I've got another portfolio that is based on trading. And the reason why I've started that trading portfolio is to accelerate my stock market investment. So you can have an accelerated, stock market investment. And then once you do the stock market, I also advise people to then look at the forex market. So I've gotten to a stage now where I'm able to trade currencies. And there are a number of platforms that have been created to do that. So you start with easier asset classes, such as stock market investments. You accelerate your stock market investments. You go into other asset classes, such as Forex. Today, we talk about cryptocurrencies. Don't go straight into cryptocurrencies without getting the background knowledge, particularly in the stock market investments, because stock market investments give you a background in terms of how investment should be done. So you can go into other asset classes. I also like property. So property is a good source of passive income. I did talk to you at the beginning about managing your credit record. It's very important that you manage your credit record, because it's most likely that if you manage your credit record, banks can give you money to then go on and invest in properties. During your spare time, Tafadzwa, I advise our viewers and our listeners to educate themselves, particularly on two markets, the stock market and the property market. Those are very, very important market. The other thing that you can do to generate passive income is to start a side hustle business. And here, it's so easy for people to start an online business. There are quite a lot of opportunities in the online world, and I'll talk about that later on. Years ago, you and I, Tafadzwa, did network marketing. Network marketing is a huge. We were not successful, to be honest with our viewers, Tafadzwa. We were not successful in the network marketing opportunities that came our way. But I've got nothing against the networking marketing model. It's become a huge source of passive income or leveraged income to a number of people. So if you're a good marketer and there is a network marketing opportunity that has presented itself, you can do that. You can also license your intellectual property, Tafadzwa. Today I spoke to you about Mr. Makate, who was an employee at Vodacom, but he then entered into an arrangement with Vodacom and said, look, I've got this idea. So if you can license your idea, because, many people in the future are going to make money from ideas. Don't listen to anyone who tells you to start a business, you need capital. I was listening to a preacher and a teacher who was saying you need lots of capital to start a business. These ideas that I'm giving you are low capital intensive businesses. These are businesses that you can start with very little. So you can actually license your intellectual property. And anybody who then uses your intellectual property would then pay you some money. So Mr. Makate, in all likelihood, Mr. Makate is going to be a billionaire in rand terms. And that's how you do it, because he was quite clever as an employee to approach Vodacom and say, look, I need revenue. I need a certain amount of revenue from this idea, that I have. Build an internet business, an online business. That's very, very, important there. Let's talk about online businesses and what are some of the ideas that people are talking about, there. So just to give you some ideas, and we actually go into detail with our exclusive, club members on some of these ideas. Number one, you can sell digital products. So you can develop digital products which people can download, and when they download, they pay you some money. And in our business, we have even, started digital products. And some of these digital products could be things such as Excel spreadsheets that are usable. Say, for example, you're a financial coach and you've got a user-friendly budget model that people can use. You can actually put it on some website. Anybody who wants access to that budget, can download it for a small fee. And then you market your digital products, whether it's PDF documents. You can teach online courses. I know of so many people who teach online courses, and they join a number of platforms because you've got knowledge that you have, and you can use that knowledge to teach online courses on a weekend. You can become a blogger. I know of many people that are blogging. Some of them have started YouTube channels and that are making money because YouTube is paying money, Facebook is paying money. And so people are, making money in the blogging world. You can run an affiliate marketing business. In an affiliate marketing business, you are basically marketing somebody else's products, maybe using your page, and you give people a link, and when they buy, you get commission, on that. Today, I spoke about becoming a social media influencer. I know of many people that are making money being social media influencers. The idea here is, and when I talk about creating multiple streams of income, I'm not saying leave your job. I'm saying in addition to what you are doing, what other products can you think about? What other revenue sources can you think about on the back of what you are doing using your brand name? And it's very important. Some of the social media influencers that I know about are radio presenters. So they've got a full-time job as radio presenters. And then on the back of that, because they already have a following, they then gather a massive Facebook following, and then on the back of that, they then approach companies to influence the marketing of their products. So that's a revenue stream. You can rent whatever you have. I know of people who are using their cars and they are registering their cars on Uber and Bolt platforms, or you can even buy a car and generate an income on the back of that. Those are all the ideas that we can give to each other. But I can go on and go on, Tafazo. The idea here is, think of something that complements what you are currently doing. Think of something that is in line with your skill set that you know very well. Think of something that will generate a passive income, so that you're not creating a stream of income which is totally divorced from what you are currently doing, whose risk characteristics are not highly correlated with the risk characteristics of your current income. That's not what we are talking about. We are basically talking about a stream of income that does not distort your essence. It's a stream of income that is in line with your essence, with your purpose. That's what we are talking about. And then you build streams of income around your essence and your purpose as a person.
Before we share concluding remarks, Makai is saying thank you for the insightful session. Any recommendations on where someone can learn about currency trading? Then I also wanted to ask on the idea, if people are going to pay you for your idea, doesn't it have to be proven or something? And in it being proven, doesn't that need money?
So Mr. McCarthy's idea was not proven. There was a big corporate who was willing to take the risk. So part of creating streams of income is to partner with people that have got capital. If you've got an idea, partner with somebody who's got capital, because you don't have to take the risk yourself. Gone are the days where you do all the risk taking. There is somebody out there that you can partner with on a strategic basis who is willing to throw the risk capital at you. All you need to do is to have a brand, and you need to market yourself very well. So don't think of, I want to build a significant business, therefore I need lots of capital. There is a lot of capital that is waiting to finance good ideas out there. Tafazo will be having a show one of these days on stock market trading and currency trading. So whoever has asked that question can wait for that show, or alternatively, they can join our exclusive club, which we are in the process of putting together, where we will actually avail this knowledge, to a number of people. But here is the thing that I would want to caution, because I have made mistakes along the journey, and Tafadzwa, you would know the mistakes that we have made. You will come across somebody who is selling you a platform to trade currencies, and they will tell you these are the returns that you will get if you start trading currencies. Those people make money from selling the platforms. They don't make money from trading. And you need to know that. Similarly, years ago, I came across somebody who was selling a stock market investing platform, and they sold it for lots of money. Those people do not make money. Look for a teacher who actually makes money from currency trading, not somebody who is just selling you a platform. And so you need to do your research, and you need to learn. Don't go into an asset class that you've got no knowledge about. You need to acquire the right knowledge about that asset class, and then only then can you then embark on a journey. That's how I would answer those two questions, Stefan.
What are your closing remarks, and where can people find you?
We are living in a very uncertain world, Tafadzwa. There are so many fault lines in the economies of the world. Today, we're talking about the fault line in China. Because of the uncertainty in the world, the only way you can cushion yourself is to begin to create streams of income. There's every possibility that you may lose your job. So if your job is the only source of income that you'll have, and here I don't care how highly qualified you are. I don't care what positions you occupy in your company. I have seen CEOs being laid, from their job. So it's just how uncertain the world is. I've seen doctors being retrenched from their job. So that's the first point that we've highlighted, today. We've also highlighted develop a methodology to financial independence. Develop a plan when it comes to creating streams of income. Don't do it haphazardly. Whatever stream of income you create, it has to be complementary of your skill set, complementary of your knowledge base that you have, and it has to be part and parcel of your plan. And in all likelihood, you will need mentorship along the journey. There are so many opportunities that are out there. There are opportunities when it comes to ideas. Today I've been talking about Mr. McCarthy. He is going to be a billionaire, no doubt about it. It's a matter of time before he becomes a billionaire. But he did not become a billionaire because he started a business. We are actually seeing employees, singers becoming billionaires, soccer players becoming billionaires. They are not billionaires because they are not focused. Messi, Ronaldo, if they live long, they are going to make money on the base of their soccer play. That's how you create a stream of income. You don't become a soccer player and a basketball player and a volleyball player because that's not the multiple sources of income that we are talking about. Stick to soccer if you are a soccer player like Messi. And then from the soccer playing that you do, you then, on the back of that, enter into branding contracts, enter into that contract, create a revenue stream out of what you are already doing. That's what we are talking about. Otherwise, if you're a basketball player, you're a soccer player, how do you create streams of income like that? No, that's not how. One person who is doing very well, in my view, I'm actually predicting this lady will become a billionaire very soon. Watch out for a singer called Taylor Swift. She's managing a career very well in music. All she does is singing. But out of that singing, she is now generating, she will be going into television shows on the basis of the brand that she has created. It's not like she's moving away from the singing that she's doing. And that is the most assured way of creating streams of income. It's on the basis of an entrenched business and an entrenched brand that you have built for yourself. And that's the whole idea, because many people have got a distorted view of creating streams of income. They think that you need to do different things at different times. No, 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 no. You're not going to sustainably create streams of income like that.
Thank you very much, Themba, for the insightful session. We have learned a lot. And if, as mentioned earlier, if you do want personal help, you can contact Themba on his LinkedIn page, Themba Mazibuko, or you can write us an email at tafazwa@tafazwamazibukospeaks.co.za. And you can also visit our website, www.tafazwamazibukospeaks.co.za. And you can also like and subscribe to our YouTube account, The Dream That Is Worth Fighting For. We really appreciate you joining us this afternoon. I hope, like me, you implement that which you have learned. Let's check out G. Allen's book, as it's been recommended. Let's grow together and enjoy the rest of the weekend as we continue to pursue our dreams. Yes, your dream is worth fighting for. Have a great weekend ahead. Cheers.